This garden doesn't look like much. It's February in New England. Normally, those of us who keep a garden, we're ordering seeds from catalog, stocking up on other garden supplies, and planning our layout for the year. But we've had such mild winter, and we had a warm stretch about a week ago in late February, and I got hungry, and I had some carrots that were planted that I was planning to overwinter, where I would harvest them in the spring. So I pulled them out of the ground, and I got a pretty good harvest. And of course, being winter, when you have carrots, I think of soup. Looks like we've got some good color on these carrots, so I think we can take them out. Wanted to get a little more color on the other side. They look real nice on the bottom. You can see that browning. But I want the same thing on the other side of the carrots. And I want them a little bit softer too. I felt them and they were still a little firm, and I want them to be able to be soft enough so that I can puree them for some soup. So we're gonna put them back in. We'll cut up a couple onions. Just a rough chop. Get those going in the pan. Soften them up. Some celery. And we'll throw half a stick of butter in there so we can sweat our vegetables. We'll move that butter around with the Italian mother's weapon, the wooden spoon. Get that foaming in there. We like to make our own stocks. So we have all kinds of soup stocks: chicken, turkey, duck, ham, and I think we're gonna go with some pork stock. And now we can get our vegetables in, our celery and onion. Try to get them all in the pot instead of on the stove. Move those around. Want to get some good color on them. Not too much, but we want the sweetness to come out. Gonna add a little bit of kosher salt. Just to draw the water out a little bit. It'll help with the coloring. And we'll see how our carrots are doing. I think those are soft enough we can take them out. Beautiful color. That's what we're looking for. The browning of the carrots left a very interesting art pattern on the parchment paper. You can see a perfect impression of the carrot skin on the parchment. Unbelievable. Now our onions and celery look nice and sweet. We got some good browning on there. That color is going to give us a lot of flavor. So we're going to add our carrots. You can see we cut them up first, just to make them blend a little easier later. We'll stir those in. What I like to do next is add the stock, even while the vegetables are chunky. We're going to let them cook in that for a while and really soften up. We'll let that simmer for a bit. Let's see, our soup has been simmering for a while, getting nice and soft. We'll give that a little bit of a stir. And we will work on our first installment of our seasonings. Salt. A little bit of white pepper. Some cumin. How do you pronounce this?
Cumin.
Cumin, 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 cumin. Or is it pronounced like this? Come in. Ground coriander. Sometimes I'll grind it myself if I have whole coriander seed. Some ginger. Goes great with carrots. A little dry mustard. Unusual, I know, but it tastes good. Another unusual one, some chili powder. It really jazz it up a bit. And we have to have a little heat, so some cayenne pepper. Not too much. We'll stir those in, and we're going to let it continue to simmer before we get the boat motor out, what I call the stick blender. And it's looking good. It's got an interesting color. Of course, I have both orange and yellow carrots, kind of a creamy yellow, pale yellow. And then with the onion and the celery, we get some color from that. Our pork broth had a little bit of color. To explain the pork broth, I buy whole pigs from organic pastured farms, and I have them bag up some of the bones that would otherwise be discarded. There's a little bit of connective tissue and some meat on them. And I'll put those in the pressure cooker for a couple of hours and really extract all the flavor out of them, and it makes a delicious stock. It's not very clear. It ends up being a cloudy stock, but I'm not going for scoring points on looks here. It's all about flavor. We'll check that in a little while. We've been simmering for more than half an hour now. Everything should be nice and soft. We'll give that a good stir. Make sure nothing's stuck to the bottom. That's good. And then before we stick blend, I like to get in there with a potato masher. Just to break things up. Make it a little bit easier when we hit it with the blender. I'm going to turn the heat off as well. You see everything's nice and soft and it's breaking up easily. There's a little bit of fiber in there, that's okay. This is a rustic soup. I'm not looking for a perfectly smooth soup. I'm not going to strain it. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now we can hit it with our stick blender. I find that if you start by putting the blender on the surface and then moving it down, you can kind of break things up. And then as it gets softer, then you can move it around and keep it on the bottom. That's pretty good. We're gonna have to add a little bit of water too. Otherwise it's gonna be a little too thick. Yeah, that thins it out nicely. I might even add a little bit more water. We're gonna simmer this a little bit longer, just so all those flavors can meld together and really develop. Then we'll give it a taste, and if we have to make any adjustments to the seasonings, we can do that. Okay, when you see that happen, you know the heat's a little too high, and it's gonna make a big mess. But it's very satisfying to watch. Our carrot soup has been simmering. Now it's time to plate. Oh, that is fantastic carrot soup.